Good morning and welcome to Frank's School, the 7th year, 98th day in the first video. I want to talk just a little bit about a hymn, Come Ye Thankful People Come. I had said before I'm going to some extent, return to my academic side for a while, and we're going into Advent. I'll be referring to my playlist, an Advent calendar of hymns and carols. Well, this isn't actually usually in Advent, but there's about three hymns that come before Advent that are associated with Thanksgiving or the time around that. Come ye thankful people, come, raise the song of Harvest Home. Now, Harvest Home is a ancient, very ancient folk festival in much of Northern Europe. It's also a synonym for it is the ingathering. I rather like that. I like them both. Harvest Home, ingathering. It's usually in late September, but now people, I think, tend to associate it with Thanksgiving, at least in the United States, where Thanksgiving is this celebration. The church where I attend hangs on to it. It's a country church, and I don't know if city churches do. They probably do. I don't know. I think sometimes there are these vestiges of old folk things. Well, a Christmas tree, I suppose. Brought into a church would be, yes, certainly there's vestiges of it. Well, here's one, Harvest Home. I mean, sometimes it goes uncelebrated in the church because it's not exactly part of the church calendar, I think, not in the Lutheran church. And by the way, two of my old friends, this is the hymnal that I use principally for an Advent of Christmas hymns and carols. I'd said before, I think it's the best. To my knowledge, it's the best hymnal that was ever produced, but it's now out of date. And the other old friend, I had to go into my dictionary. This is the, what is it, the ninth New Collegiate Dictionary, Webster's, to take a look at tears. Well, I'll say about that later. The tune is called St. George's Windsor. It was St. George's Windsor. Here's the composer. He was the organist there. I think it said for 47 years when I looked it up. English. The text is Henry Alford. You can find out more about these men if you try. But now, one thing I wanted to say about the tune. It's really a lovely tune. This is the Victorian times. It's a Victorian take on Harvest Home, and it was used very, very widely in England. The tune was originally written for a different text, something Day of Jubilee, but this text was joined to it fairly soon after. I did want to point out that one of the things that delights me, who am a student of, have been a student of harmony, but anyone listening to it would hear it. When you get to the end of the first line, come ye thankful people, come, raise the song of Harvest Home. On the word home, there's a modulation occurs. What happens is it's in the key of G in this hymnal, and a D sharp is introduced. I think I've got that right. Yeah, a D sharp is introduced instead of a D natural. See, in a normal scale, a major scale, as you go up through, if you build a triad on each one of the tones, the third tone tends to be a minor. In the key of C, it would be E, G, and B, and the G would not be sharp. It's a minor triad. But surprise, they've sharpened the triad, and so it's a major third. And if you listen to it, you'll hear that a bit of a surprise to hear that major. Now they resolve it. That's called a modulation, and they resolve it later, and they, of course, bring it back to what you would normally expect. To hear it, I'll give you a link, and I'll tell you that the Mormon Tabernacle Choir does a very fine job of it. I just am not. I'm put off by the immenseness of that choir, even though their music is impeccable. It's just too big for my taste. And also, they always seem like they have to do something different to say that it's been, I don't know, what's the word for it? Adapted, adjusted, whatever, instead of just singing it straight out. And I couldn't really find online a link that I could give you. where a choir, where you could actually see the choir or the congregation just singing it. But I'll give you a link where you hear the music fine and the words are written on the screen. Now, for a vocabulary word that I would pull out in this, as I was doing in the Advent calendar of hymns and carols, I would pull out tares. Wheat and tares together sown. Unto good and evil grown, I think is the rest of that. Oh, I should have analyzed I will analyze the poetry a little bit. That's the word I would have pulled out because it's a word that most people do not know. They can sort of figure it out from the context. Weeds, well, it's a kind of vetch, and it looks a lot like wheat, but it's a problem. And there's a parable in the Bible about the tares being mixed and then separated, and the tares being burnt. Its etymology is from Middle English, and apparently they don't know any further back than Middle English. Now, the sentence that I will diagram is, God our Maker doth provide for our wants to be supplied. There's quite a few choices here, but I'm going to stop here and then go back to these things. So I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Here I've written the first stanza of the Come Ye Thankful People, come up here. The tune, I want to say, is also used in the text, Christ the Lord is risen today at Easter time. It's perhaps more familiar that way. I also found out that the same composer wrote the tune to crown him with many crowns. It's called Diamata, I think, the tune. Very, very well-known tune, I believe. Now, to look to the poetry, first of all, the beat. Come ye thankful people, come, raise the song of harvest home. That's when you scan it, that's the beat that you get. There are 4 feet per line. This one is left empty. So it's tetrameter, 4, and it's dactylic. Strong, weak, strong, weak, strong. Each foot tends to be dactylic. Well, it's very regular. It's virtually perfect that way. Another poem that comes to mind is Hark the Herald Angels Sing. It has that same structure. The rhyme scheme, A, A, B, B, C, C, I don't know whether it's called A, A or not, or D, D, because we're far enough away. Oh, and I forgot to look. I believe that I believe that he sustains that at least twice more. There's 3 stanzas in it. All right, now, and the rhyme come and home, do they rhyme? Well, nearly. I think it's called near rhyme or close rhyme. It's I rhyme. They look like they rhyme. And he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that again in the poem. Purposely use near rhyme, except when he repeats this. All right, God our Maker doth. This is what I'm going to pull out. And the punctuation in the hymnals often indicates that, well, this is all one long sentence. They use semicolons and colons. But that certainly it could be an independent clause. And now I'm going to stop again and draw that out. Bye for now, for the moment. I'm back. There's the sentence. I guess I'll put a period here, although in the hymnal it's not. It's given a semicolon or something there, and it goes on. God our Maker doth provide for our wants to be supplied. I left it blank because if you want to pause right now, you can go ahead and see if you can diagram it. Now, if you didn't pause, I'll give the diagram, which I believe is right. I believe that's right. Let me write this in. I do want to point out that doth is archaic. This was a Victorian poem, and by then they didn't use the word doth. They used does. God our Maker does provide. Doth. He doth. Third person singular, present tense. All right, anyway, God is the subject. Our Maker. Now, I thought about putting commas there because this isn't a positive. Maker, I don't believe, is capitalized. R, that's the subject, God our Maker. What's he do? He doth provide. That's the helping verb. Here's the main verb, doth provide. Now, I thought about calling the verb provide for. No, I don't think so. Why does he do it? Or how does he do it? He doesn't provide, though, for our wants. You know, that's not what he's doing. He's not providing for our wants. He's providing for our wants to be supplied. So to be, you could either call that passive voice, or you could call it to be good, to be much, to be supplied. Let's see. God our Maker doth. God our Maker doth provide for our wants to be supplied. There we go. God our Maker doth provide for our wants to be supplied. That's it. This is a objective complement. Bye for now. No, no, I'm back. I'm sorry. When I said objective complement, we need this. We need this. That line right there. Oh, I'm losing it. I'm getting out of practice. We need that line to indicate objective complement. Now, bye for now.